Hi, welcome to Cloud Computing course. So far we have discussed about various services of AWS at a very high level. Now what we are going to do is that we are going to discuss about some of the important services of AWS in details one by one and try to understand that what kind of a problem they solve and how to use them for various use cases. So, if we go back to this slide, if we remember that we used to have these are the various services we have in the AWS. These are the services. Now, these services have been categorized into various groups. One is called compute group, in which these are the services. In database group of services, these are the services. For storage purpose, Amazon provides three different kind of services. For deployment and management, it provides these type of these services, and for application level, these are the services. So, these are the various services categorized like this. Now, what we are going to do is that we will try to understand in depth about some of the services. Like we will try to understand about EC2, we will try to understand about S3, we will try to understand about EBS, we will try to understand about little bit Elastic MapReduce and see how we go. And we will also try to understand a little bit about RDS and IAM. So, these are some of the services we will try to discuss, we will be discussing in depth and trying to understand what are those used for. So, let us start with our first service called IAM. So, this is our first service which we will discuss called IAM, which falls in the category of deployment and management, and this goes also in the category of called platform as a service. So, these are infrastructure as a service, this is a infrastructure as a service, this is a platform as a service. So, you have to be just careful that which kind of a service these are. And in the previous lesson, we have explained this, what is infrastructure as a service, what is platform as a service. So, based on this, these are there. Now, let us go ahead and deep dive into identity and access management service provided by AWS. Now, IAM basically provides a centralized control of user access. What it means is that it can control that let us assume that you have multiple users in a company and each user has a different level of access to various servers in the cloud. Now, using this you can control that which user can perform what kind of access to various service API and resources. You can also provide conditional user access and all. So, here if you see that we can also provide, you can say that it is basically a user management. This whole service is called identity and access management, or you can call it a user management. So, this is a user management service provided by Android, and here you can add conditions to control how your users and roles can use AWS, such as time of day. You can define that a particular user can access these services at a particular time of day. Only users from these IP address can access my cloud computing resources. My servers can be accessed only through SSL. These users can only connect through SSL. These users can only perform certain non-critical tasks. Some user can create other user as well. It is like you can create multiple administrative user, you can create multiple guest user. So, all of that can be done, and that is a part of next one what I say, manage IAM users. you can add a new user to your AWS account. You can create groups and assign permission to groups. You can organize IAM users in various groups. You can create various groups like external user, internal user, and all of these is basically user management of Amazon AWS cloud computing services. And this is applicable to all the services. It is not just a particular service. You can just define that which service. You can manage roles. You can create roles and assign permission to them. You can manage a credential, create and assign secret credential, or you can revoke this credential. So it is all up to you that how you want to do it. You can create roles and assign permissions to them. You can create groups. You can assign permissions to groups, and you can create groups as well. And you can add IAM users to your, and then you can add users in a group. So all of these things you can do: creating users, creating group, creating roles, assigning user to group, assigning user to role, managing the credential. All of these things are called identity and access management service. Okay. Now, if you want to understand that how do you do this, you can just go there and try to find out about. So this is the basic concept of identity and access management or user management for the users. So now we will see that how to really use this concept to create few users, create few groups, and really see all of this happening in Amazon Web Services. So that's what we are going to do it next. So let us see that how we can use a service IAM in Amazon Web in AWS. So for that, just log into your AWS console, console.aws.amazon.com, console home, and then you come here and click this service called IAM. Okay. So this will bring to this page. And here there are options. You can create groups, create a new group of users. You can create just users without creating a group. You can create the roles if you want. So if you can want to create a password policy, you can create password policy. And if you want to go back to your IAM dashboard, here it is. And if you want to understand what are the users, basically users interact with websites and services. Groups enable you to manage permission for multiple users and all. So what we are going to do is that create a new group of users. So first we will create users. So let us see that create a user. So what we are going to do is that let us create some test user 1. Okay. Test user 2. So I will just create 2 user. And most important thing is that user needs, it will create a access key for each user which will be used for encryption and decryption purpose for secure transmission or the login by the user. These are basically the SSH keys. So it will say that create keys, generate an access key for each user. Your 2 users have been created successfully, and this is the last time this user security credential will be available for download. So this is very important. What you have to do is that you have to show user security credential. You should be, whenever you create a user, it will ask you to download this credential, and once you download this right now, if you do not download right now or you do not save this information, it will not show you again. So it is better to download and save this information. Okay. So what generally I do is that I just say copy paste and save it somewhere, or you can say download credential, it will download. So don't forget to download your security credentials. This one is called access key ID, other is called secret access key, and both of them have a different use and purpose. We will see that how to do that later. Once the users is created, once these 2 users are created, you can assign it to various groups. So for that you can come to groups and you can say that create new group, and I will say test group 1, continue, and here is that what access you want to provide. Do you want to provide an administrator access? Do you want to provide a power user access? And if you want to provide this one, then you can select this and you can do a little bit more at a granular level using a script. If you want to provide a power user access, so these are the standard access template. For administrator you give this, for power user, for read only, for AWS. So there are two ways you can provide the access. One, by using the standard template of access like administrator, power user, read only, AWS, cloud formation, that is one way. Other thing what you can do is that you can create a policy generator and create your own set of permissions. You see that? If you either you can use the standard set of permissions for various kind of a user, or you can create your own set of permission, and that's it. Create your own set of permissions using the policy generator. Or you can have a custom policy, own set of permission. Again, in this one, you can use the policy generator, and in this one, you can use the policy editor. So that is the difference. If you don't want to give him any permission, then select no permission. Okay. So here it is what it is there. So let us select that EC2 full access, this user. Okay. And then I will say continue. Create group. So what it means is that there is a user called test group 1. These two users group I had created some time back. If you see the date, it is the old group which I had created. So don't get confused by these two groups, how they came. I had created on long time back. So it was 29th of June, 3rd of July. So that is the time. Today what we created was test group 1. Now once you create the group, what you could do is that here select the group, and when you select the group, a window opens up in the lower panel. Here there is a users, add users to group, and you can select which user you want to add. I will add test user 2, okay, and say add users. Now it shows that there is one user into this one and test user 2 belongs to this group. Now let us select create another group, and this time I will call it test group 2. Okay, and this one I will give the power user access. Create group, and test group 2 you can select here and say add users to group, and select test user 1, add users. Okay, users is added. So now we have two groups and two users, and each has a different set of permission. If you want to change the permission of test group 2, you can always manage the policy, remove the policy, attach another policy, access policy. So all of those things are possible. So the purpose of this is that which kind of a user you want to create and do it. So all of this is called identity and access management service of AWS. If you want to create the roles, you can create the roles as well. Create new role. So test role. You can say continue, and then different kind of a template you can assign to this one. Okay. So it is similar. If you want to put the password policy, a password policy is a set of rules that define the type of password IAM user can set. So sometimes you can be fine with a default password, but you can also make the password little difficult. So there are various ways. Require at least one uppercase letter, require at least one lowercase letter, require at least one number, require at least one non-alphanumeric character, allow user to change their own password. All of these things are possible to do it. If you put it, then whenever the user will change their password or create their password, this policy will be applicable. So all of these are part of your access and identity and access management service of AWS. Okay. So let us now go back to our course material. So this was all about centralized control of user access, manage IAM users, manage IAM roles, manage credentials. Now let us understand that is this identity and access manager free of cost by AWS Amazon, or it costs money? It is a free service by Amazon. So anybody who is using the Amazon cloud computing or AWS can use this service for free of cost. What is the business use cases and benefits? Why somebody would use this? And that is very important to understand. That what are the use case? Why somebody would use it, right? Now the reason somebody would use it is, first is that let us assume that somebody is providing a training services. Now in the training services you might want to create the users and their credential and everything for different users. If you are going to give a training to 20 to 30 users, you might want to create all the 30 users under the same main account, otherwise all 30 would require a different credit card account. So instead of using the 30 credit card, you can have just one credit card and you can create 30 different users in the same credit card. So that problem is solved and trainees does not need a credit card. Next is that if you want to control the access and expenses of various departments individually, then you can create a different department and have all the employees in that department under one credit card and another one into another credit card. So different accounts can be attributed to different department. Sometimes compliance of billing to employees of different countries for MNCs, that is also important. So what you could do is that you can have a different set of user ID and password for different countries, and you can assign them, attach them to each one of them to a different credit card or something. Let us assume that I have an employee in 3 different countries. Okay. Now instead of having one credit card, okay, let me just roll back. Let us assume, let us think about a realistic case. So you have 10 employees in 3 countries. So in each country there are 10 employees. So country A 10, country B 10 employees, country C 10 employees. So total you have 30 employees, correct? Now you want to make sure that all the expenses taken care due to the activities by A, B and C are always separate. So you don't want to put for all 30 one credit card. So what you could do is that you could create a credit card account for A and put 10 into that, credit card account for B and put all 10 under that, credit card account for C and put all 10 of country C into that. And this way you can control and monitor the expenses at a national level. So those are some of the use cases which you could do it. Another use of identity and access management is that if you in a same country, in a same company, if there are 20 different kind of users, each user need to have a different level of access. Like one need an access only for read-only purpose. That user should not be allowed to make any changes. That user is only for reading some data or trying to understand something and monitor. Another user want a full access. Next user want only database related access. So if you have a requirement like that where you have a different set of users with different kind of a access requirement, identity and access management is very important. Okay. Sometimes what happens that we need to provide a short-term access to a temporary employee or contractors. You can create a set of 10-20 users for a small period of time, and then when the work is done, you could just delete that users. Because the main account that based on credit card, it is never advisable that you just keep closing that account and reopening that account, because it will not work. So these are some of the business use cases for Identity and Access Management Service of AWS. In practice, most of the IAM operations are done by console. That is AWS console, but you can also use AWS SDK to do this programmatically. So that is what is a basic approach. In practice, most of the IAM operations are done by console.